All right, welcome to On the Play Games, OTPG, On the Play Games. We are coming to you with our first production quality, I'd say, video of the adventure that we've started here. We also have on screen a little tease to the 4 shops that are going to be involved in our next season, Season 1, because Season 0, we're kind of matching up with what FFG is doing with their seasons for the Planetary Qualifiers. Remember, all of this is all wrapped around our HyperDrive to the Planetary Qualifier Event Series. And last season we had 2 shops, Synergy Gamers out of Goose Creek and Myrtle Beach Games from the Socastee, South Carolina area. Both events fired with a decent amount of players. We're looking for a little bit better turnout this time, as some of the more exciting cards have now come out with set 3. And we're seeing a little bit of a shakeup in the meta with the post-Boba Fett meta, now that the big bad boogeyman has now been taken out of the picture. And to get things started, we're going to be looking at a deck that I'm going to be playing today. That is the Jango Red. I basically stole this right from Veiled Shots listings, and he posted a deck list that was very similar to this. I've done a little bit of modifications to it, brought a few things in and took a few things out. One of the things that I brought in was 2 additional TIE Phantoms. They are such a great card against control matchups, and control matchups are one of the areas where this deck can have some trouble because they just don't put units out for you to tap. And the whole point of this deck is to lock down your opponent's units. So I felt like getting a playset of the Lurking TIE Phantoms just to be a little bit of a menace to our opponents that are going in that control direction in general. Now, there are cards like Perilous Position now in the meta that are seeing a lot of play in control decks, and they're a great answer to the Lurking TIE Fighter, or TIE Phantom, excuse me. But you do have to have that in your hand to pull it off. Another thing, there were a couple of cards that were some one-ofs. The first one that comes to mind, another space unit, because most of this deck is space units. There was a set of 1 of the, excuse me, let me see if I can find it here, of the unit that prevents you from gaining life, that were in the main deck. They had 1 of the Confederate TIE Fighter, excuse me. The Confederate TIE Fighter, great card against control. However, there is a little bit of a problem with it in that if they use Cunning to kill it, they're going to kill it first and then gain the life. And so it kind of defeats the purpose. But it does stop things like the client and price on your head from being able to be collected for an advantage. They also had a 1 of Imperial Interceptor in the list. I went ahead and dropped both those 1-ofs out of the main deck and went ahead and just moved 2 more of the Lurking TIE Phantoms just to give the deck a little more consistency to begin with in game 1s. And then, in addition to that, we pretty much kept everything else the same, with the exception of the removal of the discard. It was originally in the sideboard. I show it right now in the image that you're seeing right now. It's the one where you discard a card, and then in addition to paying for the card, and then you get to look at their hand and take a card out of it. I feel like you're 2-for-1ing yourself. Really not the greatest place to be. I would much rather just play a Sabine Natal, not Sabine, a Bazine Natal. Just because it's a unit that I can then later exploit for our tank that is in the list, we are running 2 of the heavy persuader tanks. Again, they do a little bit of damage to a unit, lock it down. They're a big unit to deal with, and it gives us something to use our ISB agents and our Bazine Natals on as the game progresses. So I felt like the Bazine Natals being in the sideboard over the other discard option, it was just a better overall choice. So we went in that direction. In just a minute, I'm getting ready to start up a little bit of game testing I did with a friend of mine, Bobby, over at the tables at Synergy Gamers last Sunday. Got a little chance to run against his version of a yellow Sabine. Something you don't really see with Sabine is not using ECL. I really like the idea that he came outside the box. You're going to see a play towards the end. I looked at the video just a little while ago, and I believe that we're going to see where there's a moment where I make an attack in with my leader, Jango, out, and I deal damage to a unit of his, removing the unit out of play, and I do not tap down his R2 from set 3, allowing him to do 2 points of damage to me and put me at 1 life, where he was then 1 action away from tapping his Bazine to finish me off. So without further ado, let's take a look at the video and see what we find as we take a look at how the gameplay panned out. And so I'm going to go ahead and transition over here to the table and get this video started. And hopefully you'll be able to hear me a little bit over the game talk as we talk a little bit about the plays that are going on. So without further ado, let's get playing. And you'll hear me refer to as Killian, Jason in most cases, but if you know me and you're good friends of mine, you'll eventually know that my name is Killian, and I go by that quite often. Just kind of sticks there. I'm going to go ahead and move myself over to the other side of the screen and enjoy this little recap of the game that we had last Sunday at Synergy Gamers in Goose Creek. One of the premier shots from last season's HyperDrive to the Planetary Qualifier, and they are going to be wrapping up the season this time. They opened the season last time. They'll be wrapping it up at the final event in, I think it's March, late March. We'll get into that a little bit later as we reveal some more information in that future casts. You'll see us talking a little bit about some of the timing of our Sunday events and working on trying to bring things up to 4:30 for draft, where we normally do 5 o'clock for our competitive play. And of course, work always gets in the way of playing, so. Excuse me, I'm a little bit under the weather too as well. Then we both decide to take a mulligan. I find myself with this deck a lot of times just putting Greedo in the bin and going ahead and resourcing it down. But in this case, I went ahead and kept him up. Normally in that case, a Greedo play would be really bad into a Bazine Natal, Sabine. Because Sabine just would ping the Greedo before combat damage and kill it. And I'm not quite sure why he didn't go ahead and do that, but my thought was, He attacks in with that. I go ahead and swing in with the ISB agent, putting a second point of damage on Sabine, and then being able to follow that up to potentially kill her.
We're just recording right now. But it will be streamed. The revolution will be televised. Put all the cards in the deck that you want to play.
I mean, that's the beauty of this game, I think, in my opinion. Is just, yeah, what do you want to do?
I feel like right there he should have taken the Greedo out and would have put him so far ahead. And I probably should have killed a Sabine right there. You'll see there, I go ahead and put the point on Sabine, keeping my ISB agent still alive. Hopefully to be able to use him to, I believe there's a surprise strike sitting in my hand, and the unit in space there is going to be really handy as I...
Hold on 1 second. Trigger my stack. Oh, yeah, I did have a
trigger on the stack. It's great.
I also I'm thinking about that.
I believe it's an Elite P38 I got laid out there. And that P38 is really great at taking out the Millennium Falcons. Does just enough. So at this point, I got his board clear. It's a good place to be as he moves into his flip turn. He does bring out a really great ship in the Red 3. And right now, he's holding off until I swing with that Greedo. He doesn't want Greedo to be able to surprise strike into a open Sabine. So he's going to go ahead and put the extra point of damage on the base. Smart move. I'm going to go commit in. Got to try to race him. I believe I'm holding another P38 in my hand. Yep, there it is. So that was a very, very good turn there around for me, in that his Sabine did not get to do any damage. And I'm still sitting at 7 life at turn at 5 resources. Not a terrible place to be. So I should be in a good spot here. Now let's watch how these next few rounds play out, and see if I made this error that I believe I made.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 base.
Now that's a very good, very strong play. Basically doubled the damage on my base. Probably should have put a point here on the Sabine. So then I could have attacked with the Greedo and gotten her off the board. And this is the unit that comes into play that really, I feel like I made the mistake on. That's his R2. He gets a nice little discard draw. Look at 3, pick up a card out of it. Nice filtering. That was a little bit of overkill. If I'd put that point on her, I could have just went with the Greedo. Surprise strike into the other unit. Could kill the other unit there as well. Probably should have sent that into his Fleet Lieutenant. Things were getting pretty tight. All right, so he has 1 unit on his side of the field. I have 3 on mine. I'm representing 9 points of damage on his base. And he's basically got me at half-life. And this is where his 30-point base, yellow Sabine. We really want to pay attention to what I do here and whether or not I could have tapped down that R2 unit.
Well, she won't get banned. Like, that's the thing, is she's not the president. She's just fast. When you're just like, oh, I'm just going to tap down and random thing.
Well, we always debate about whose leader's the worst leader to play.
I'd love to see you, but it's looking like...
Right now, looks really good. But she is really top dog.
See, no matter what I'm playing, it's going to get tapped down.
The thing you're missing is the ECL.
I mean,
Does he
ECL...
come in underneath this?
I guess a no. Like, it's a 7 toughness. That's the thing that makes it so tough.
That is true.
Is you need a fault.
1 point away from
It's the reason why Anakin and Blue is able to deal with Jango better than any other deck is because they can rival spell. Like that's the thing, and so I was listening to and I'm thinking here, it doesn't matter I guess at this point.
He feels like he's lost the game already.
I was listening to them talking about playing Anakin, and they're like, yeah, you have to hold out for the Jango Fett flip, and then
You're at 11?
yes. Like you have to hold out for the Jango flip, and then rivals follow it. Like you want them to do random stuff on the 5 flip.
Now, I could have attacked him with the other ship. Did the cartel spacer. Could have killed the R2 there. That probably should have went to the red 3. And now he's got a very good board state. He's got three units on board. I'm at 15 life. Got 10 left on my base. He's representing 3, 4, 3. So he's already representing lethal. So he hits me for 7 there because of the red 3. I believe there's a first surprise strike.
18, 19, 20, 21, 22.
Yeah. I mean, just play event breaks. Oh no, yeah, just play event breaks. No more event breaks in there?
What do you mean Van
It's a red.
And in this case, Van Brace wouldn't help me. It'd only do ground units.
You know, damage up to 3 points of damage across the board. So you equip with it.
red card?
Yeah, you equip with Jango, and you just go damage, tap, tap, tap. It's stupid dumb in Jango. It breaks Jango incredibly hard. Yeah.
I'm gonna do this though. You're an 8.
I mean, no, because you literally run into me right now.
No, I got 2 life.
Oh, you're at 2 life. Oh, okay.
18 plus 4 is 22.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, 3 life. I have 3 life.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. 3 life.
Well, they both have rate 3. They both have rate 1. If you kill this, then that doesn't have rate 1. Yeah.
But don't think I made the error. So I kill that. He attacks in, and yeah, there was no error made there. My error may have been, again, the way I allocated points. But as you can see there, Sabine, even without ECL, very solid, very good stuff. And just hard deck to beat in general. And even with this triple dark raid coming in at the end, it just not quite enough.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Comes in.
And I don't know what card that was I put into play there. I want to say that was the 6-drop Ruthless Raider, which, if that was the Ruthless Raider, which I don't think it is, if it was the Ruthless Raider, I could have tapped down and killed his R2-D2, preventing that damage. But, again, not able to do that. And even with that, no, I couldn't even have done that. The game was over by that time he got that turn where he had 3 units on the board. And he was able to just keep that pressure on. By the time that I was able to try to regain the position in the board state, he had enough pressure and that extra 5 points of life. One of the things that just cannot be overstated that we learned early in this game is the 30-point bases do matter. You know, we've got all these special bases out now that are really cool. You know, deploy a couple droids, get your automatic coordinate on, give an extra point of damage to a leader. That's pretty cool. Tarkintown's always a great one from set 1. ECL, Energy Conversion Lab, great one also from set 1. Glad to see they're reprinting the set 1s. And a lot of people are kind of upset about the reprints with the set 1 because all the cards have kind of tanked. You know, I remember back in either like May or June, I went to I was at a local card shop and I was about to pay $220 for a hyperspace foil Darth Vader. Just last week I picked up one from TCG Player after taxes and everything for $85, $86 for the hyperspace foil. So the regular ones, even less than that. You know, Luke's were sitting around $65, $70. We're now in the 30s. And I think that's good for the game right now. I mean, if you think back to where like Magic the Gathering, I kind of got into Magic the Gathering around it was like Alpha Beta in Unlimited is when I got into Magic the Gathering. They reprinted just the first set 4 times. And by the time they got to revise, they had taken out some of the juicier cards, but just 4 reprints of the first set of the game before it really caught fire. And then you started seeing all the expansions and Dark and Legends and all that kind of stuff, until they made the terrible mistake of Chronicles. But this game is needed to have a reprint of Set 1. They underproduced it, but then Set 2 was kind of in this funky, wasn't as strong as Set 1. There was a little bit more product, but people didn't really get their allocations like they were planning on getting. It took a little while for everyone to get what they were looking for. And then Set 3 comes out, and there's so much product. There's so much product. And now shops that were clamoring to get anything they could from the distributors got everything that they wanted. And now they're sitting on boxes, and they're trying to get rid of them. And you're seeing them on TCG for like $75, $80 before taxes. By the time it gets to your door, it's like an $85, maybe $90 purchase. And the storefronts, our brick and mortars, are sitting there at, $110, $115, $120. And they're wondering why their product's not selling. And I was having a conversation with one of the premier shops in our network, and it felt deflating to talk with him about how now he has to figure out a way that he's going to get this out from underneath this purchase that he's made. And the only way you can do that is to get your price point a little bit closer to what's online. Bring it down a little bit. I'm figuring a reduction of about 15-20% of what you were planning on making, get you somewhere near that $100, $105 price range, and then players might not go online and buy. They might go ahead and pick up the copy, the box there, because everybody likes to crack that box right there. They want it in their hands, And so there is a little bit to be said about the convenience of being able to take it right off a shelf and crack it right there, and have all your friends around when they're doing it, versus it comes into your house and it's you and you're by yourself and nobody else sees you crack the hyperspace foil or the showcase card. And so, there's something to be said about just bringing that price point down just a little bit. Most of these shops, again, excuse me, I got a little bit of a cold that I'm recovering from. Most of these shops are into these boxes at about somewhere between $65 and $70. And if you're trying to sell it for $120, you're really trying to make like an 85% profit off of the product. And that is an acceptable amount of profit to make off of any product for a brick and mortar store. That is not highway robbery in any way, shape, or form. A lot of products like Coca-Cola or different kind of candy bars and things like that, their markups are 200 and 300 and 400%, and we're just drinking it down and gobbling it down like it's going out of style. This is entertainment that you get to play again and again and again. You don't get to re-drink your soda, having an 85% profit margin on a box of cards is how you keep the lights on, But with Set 3, our shops are going to have to, go ahead and make that decision to come down on those product prices a little bit, free up those cards, because let's face it, Set 3 has made an impact in every event that we have seen so far. In every way. It was a good set. Darth Maul, excellent unit, being played in the Maul decks. The leaders are really good. Overall, just really great. Even though still Sabine is almost totally just a Set 1 deck with the exception of Poe Dameron and Wrecker. But we are even seeing a Set 3 card come in. I can't remember the name of the 3-drop that gives everybody +1 on their defense. the Admiral something, I think it is. Even that is being played out of set 3, and it's not a super strong body. It's a 2.5, but the fact that it makes the math a little funky and a little harder to deal with, makes a lot of difference, and it's making some play. But other than that, it's really a set 2 deck, and even beyond that, it's still just a set 1 deck. But it is really the only truly set 1 deck that's still showing itself to be at the top. Cad Bane, set 2. Bosk Blue, set 2. Yoda, set 3. But he's getting a lot of support from the set 1 and set 2 force units. You're still seeing Luke Skywalker's getting played. They're actually kind of starting to see their way back up the curve when it comes to price values, which I will be doing a little bit of a price analysis on some things in the future as we get closer to where the planetary qualifiers are starting in January, and see where cards are coming back up. We're getting ready to have January come in with an absolute firestorm of events all over. We've got just in the South Carolina, North Carolina, and I would kind of consider Jacksonville kind of close enough to Georgia to be in the Georgia region. And then there's you're looking at, there's 3 of them in 2 in January and 1 in February. So within 3 months, there's 3 of them. Where we had 1 in the region for a planetary qualifier last season. That was tough, and that's where the hyperspace to HyperDrive to the planetary qualifiers events really found its place to be. Is you had your weekly events, most people playing pretty casually, drafting or just testing out some fun stuff, and then you had your planetary qualifier that was off in the distance, months out. And then you had the HyperDrive events that were kind of in the middle there to give a little bit of a competitive edge. And last season we did really well in the fact that 88 players actually made it to the tables of the planetary qualifier in Greenville at Borderland Games. They did a great job. They sold out, and then 88 people backed out. So there's something to be said about maybe, if you're going to sign up for one of these things, show up. Don't back out. It just throws the math all off, and people don't know if they can show up. In my case, I drove 4 hours to get there. That's not like driving a couple hours or around the block to your local game shop to see if the equivalent of like a Magic's RCQ had a few extra seats left. It's a big deal when you back out of one of these things. Don't do that. And really, I would not fault any shop that said, hey, look, you hold a spot for $40 and you don't show, you don't get refunded. I wouldn't fault them at all. In fact, I'd feel they're justified in that. One of the things that we do with the HyperDrive events is that we do a $5 holding. And you just pay $20 if you show up. So if you do back out, okay, that's fine. You lost $5, whatever. It doesn't even get you a number 3 at Mickey D's. You're not really losing out hard. And pre-registration is a $5 discount already from what day of would have been if you just showed up. We try to keep that thing kind of reasonable in that fact. And so one of the things I always think about with the HyperDrive events, if you do plan on coming out to them, they are going to be, we went from 2 last season, we're going to be going up to 4. Again, we do have 4 shops that are going to be involved in the event. I'm just going to go ahead and show you the 4 shops again. This is just kind of a preview. Again, we've got more information coming in every day. Each one of these shops, every single one of them, has contributed something additional to the not just the prize offerings, but just for the participation and being in the events. Every single one of them. Synergy Gamers was the first shop to just throw a whole other box of prize support in last season. And in my backdrop here that you see behind me, I don't know if you really can see it too well, but that big old monster right there of a 3D cardboard, that is sponsored by the owners from Synergy Gamers. And we haven't come to a conclusion about what we're going to do with it yet, but it is not mine. It's either going to go back to the shop, or it's going to be handed out in some other promotional event, or it's going to have something to do with the finale that we do with the HyperDrive event series. And then on top of that, there's even more stuff back there from Grand Line Games that was given to me to put back here. I will say that the Hyperspace Foil, Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, and Flip Palpatine, those are all mine. And then there's, a few more things I got back there that I've got set up. Plus, we have things that are rolling out that are exclusively going to be spoken on first and announced first on the Play Games Discord channel. I strongly urge you that if you have not checked out our channel, it is brand new. There's not a lot of content there, but I am pinning information as it rolls out 2 to 3 to 4 days ahead of any announcements that we do on the Play Games, OTPG on the Play Games Facebook page, or the OTPG on the Play Games YouTube that you're watching on right now. So we will continue to do that as we move forward. And, I did not transition the screens. I apologize. That was the monster I was talking about right there from Grand Lines that we're going to be looking at as we continue to bring more information on our HyperDrive event. Excuse me again. The voice is normally not this raspy. But just wanted to give you a little bit of some playtest material. Got some more coming in the future. I want to make it short and sweet. It's a little bit long-winded right now. But this image here that I'm showing you, keep your eye out for it. There's going to be something special we do with that image as well. We're going to modify it a little bit more, but we're going to create a little something special for our participants in the HyperDrive event. And just to kind of put a little Easter egg for your Swifties out there, every person who joins an event in the HyperDrive series is going to receive a participation point. And then based on how well you do, you will increase the number of points that you get. And then there'll be even more points that you can have options to get just by participating in more of the events. We really do want to see players reaching out, not just in their own local shop, but crossing the lines, going to the other shops, experiencing the other atmospheres. The owners, they want to see it too. The era of shops being like, this is my corner and you can't have my players at all ever, those days are kind of behind us now that there are so many TCGs. And every time a TCG comes out, you have to kind of foster it in some way, or it just dies and drowns in the pool of TCGs that are out there. We've seen it with many in the past, and we'll probably continue to see it in the future. We've already seen it with one Star Wars TCG before. So these shop owners are really trying to cross those lines and collaborate, and this is all based off of promoting each other, looking out for each other. Listening to some of the owners talking about product swapping to make sure everybody's got price support. It's just really cool to watch and be in the middle of it and see 4 of the best shops that we have in our area. And I'm just going to call it the coastal region of South Carolina. Coming together and working together, and each one of them, I'm not going to spill all the beans yet, but each one of them is contributing something of their own little nuance to the total atmosphere that the HyperDrive Event Series is going to be, as we kind of unveil the total experience that we are going to be giving to the players. All right. The only thing that's really different about this season versus last season is we had a couple of months to do 2 events before we got to that one planetary qualifier. Now the travel stipends that we're offering, which, by the way, remember, the travel stipend is a $250 minimum. As more players come out, we already have it broken out. It's going to start right off with additional pack price support and then additional cash price support. So that $250 is the minimum. Now, yes, it does go to the top 4 players, the cash. Okay, that is kind of where we are. That might change. We might make a decision in the next couple of weeks to spread that across, but $250 doesn't go that far. So if the top 2 players split, you're looking at about almost $100, $95 a head at the minimum again. But the more we have that, these shops, players intermingling and checking out the different shops and seeing that, hey, we're all in this together. We're all gamers. We all love playing games. We all love sitting down and having a good time. That's what it's all about. That's what we're trying to do here. And we're also trying to bring a competitive level of gameplay to an area that you don't have to drive 4 hours away or 6 hours away or 8 hours away, book a hotel room, maybe you have to pay to get into a con, and then you pay to get into the event. And by the time you've done all of that, you've spent, 6 to 12 hours drive time if you think back and forth. Hotel rooms are not cheap anymore, They certainly were not cheap last October, I think it was, right after this big storm came through in the northern part of South Carolina and North Carolina. Hotel rooms were very expensive. And so you get all these additional costs when you have to go to these bigger events that are further away. We wanted our events to be a couple of hours away from each other if we could, for that day trip. Get up in the morning, drive in a couple hours, knock out 5, 6, 7 hours of gameplay, get back home. Might even be home before 9 o'clock, And we're going to actually do them a little bit earlier this season as well. Last season, we started them at 12 o'clock. I will go ahead and let this Easter egg out. We're going to be doing an 11 o'clock. At least 3 of the stores have committed to it. I've got a 4th one that's working on committing to that. And I will continue to try to support that shop and making that happen. I'm not going to, put out there which shops are doing what. But at least 3 of the 4 have committed to 11 o'clock start times so that we can get the events done sooner and get people back on the roads and back home and safe and back to their loved ones and be able to do this in a one-day kind of thing. Everybody's got lives. Everybody's got family. And we're all just trying to have a good time and balance life at the same time. So anyway, keep your eye on the future. We're going to be putting out some more content. I'll probably drop another video Sunday. Give me a chance Saturday to try to work on some more of the more technical issues, make sure that my mics are picking up right and that the cameras are working. We'll be working on some of the Wi-Fi features that I have with the camera that we're recording. It's a vlogging camera. If you know anything about cameras, it's a ZV E series And it's, got the ability to record at the tables and not have trip hazards and wires and that kind of stuff. I'm going to be doing some recording tomorrow, hopefully at Synergy Gamers. They're doing a big, they call it the Sage Night. It's a customer appreciation event. They're really big at supporting the community and doing these big events. Grand Line just finished doing one with their grand opening, and then the next weekend they did like a whole 72 hours through Thanksgiving. Like, didn't even close the doors, just kept going, and it was really cool to check out what they did there at the new shop. Myrtle Beach, always a great shop to go to. Check it out. It's the old White Widow if you don't know it, but it's now Myrtle Beach Games. And William was one of our finalists in our HyperDrive event. I got fortunate in catching him off guard with a bad mulligan where he didn't get to have a first turn play in a Sabine match where he was playing Sabine, and I got him in the finals, but he was in the quarterfinals of the Planetary Qualifier, which again goes back to the point I was making, that our HyperDrive events were really successful last season when you think that somewhere about 8 to 14 people that were in our HyperDrive events were in the 88 players at the Planetary Qualifier. 25% of the top 8 were quarterfinalists or finalists in the HyperDrive events, and 25% of the top 4 at the Planetary Qualifier were in our finalists at the HyperDrive events. Namely, I'm going to call him Hannons, because that's his YouTube channel. He was in the top 4 and he did great. He did really well. Very proud of him, and he actually got picked up recently by McClunky Gaming. So congratulations to you, guy. Super proud of you, and you just keep doing what you're doing. And like I told you the day of the HyperDrive event, after you took that round 1 loss, you know your lines, keep playing them, stay true to your deck. And as long as you do that, things will work out. Things worked out for him. He did really well. And then he made one mistake in the semifinals. And that's all it took. That's all it took is one mistake. So just remember that when you're playing forward. Stay on your lines. Know your decks. It's best to know your deck before you pick up the best deck. And with that, cheers. May the force be with you. And it has been a pleasure spending this time recording this video for you. Good night.